I divorced my wife for cheating on me. Now I can't see the children if I don't forgive her. If you are always hearing the expression in bad times, you know who your friends really are. Following that same idea, if you want to really know a woman, how she handles herself in a crisis, that tells you the type of woman with whom you really have a marital relationship. My wife cheated on me with young men at the gym, which is why I ended up divorcing her. After I divorced her, I thought that everything was over between her and me as a couple and we would only focus on raising the children. But how wrong I was about who my wife really was. Now, she is blackmailing me by not letting me see the children if I don't forgive her for cheating on me and go back to her. My name is Charles and my ex-wife's name is Karen. We had been married for about 14 years. Prior to the divorce, which happened 6 months ago, after I found out that Karen, the mother of my eyes, was cheating on me. Mostly young men she met at the gym. Between my wife and I, we have 3 beautiful children, 2 girls and a little boy. Elizabeth, who is 11 years old, Heather, the youngest, who is 8 years old, and Kyle, who is 3 years old. The marriage between Karen and I had the ups and downs of every marriage. But I never thought that my ex-wife would cheat on me with another man. How did this story really begin? I could say that it all started when I was trying to be a good husband. I paid for the cost of a plastic surgery on my breasts, and also a personal trainer in the gym gave my wife a way to improve her self-esteem. But what I never thought is that my wife would start cheating on me with young men in the gym. As soon as I discovered my wife's infidelities, despite all the pleas and begs my ex-wife not to divorce her, months later the court granted me divorce and also opting for joint custody of the children. I had the right to have the children on weekends, during vacations, and pay for their medical insurance. But 6 months after the divorce came out, my ex-wife is blackmailing me by not letting me see the children, as agreed by the family court, telling me now that if I don't go back to her and forgive her for all her cheating, my ex-wife would move to another state and never see the children again. But at the beginning of the divorce, not everything was like that, because my ex-wife thought that being good to me and treating the children well, I would reconsider my decision to divorce her. She took a therapy class to be a good mother, as agreed in court. She also stopped visiting the gym as a way to change her image before my family, who blame her for being so selfish as a mother and wife that thing only in herself. Many people think that the toxicity of a relationship ends when the divorce is finalized. But when you have children as a result of a toxic marriage, that type of abnormal marital relationship never ends, as long as there is an emotional connection between the parents and the children, and more when one of the parents uses the children as a tool of emotional manipulation and economic blackmail, as is the case between the mother of my children, and who is telling you this story right now. How is my ex-wife using children as a tool of emotional blackmail to force me to forgive her cheating? If you are a divorced man with children, who is going through the same situation, this story could be for you. What has been my life after my divorce from my wife? Aside from sometimes feeling anxious about the kids, depressed about the way my marriage ended, and angry about my ex-wife cheating. Something that every divorced man faces as a result of a breakup, or divorce, is the grieving process for a breakup of this type that lasts approximately between 6 months and 2 years. And the time of overcoming will depend on different factors. How was the breakup? Who made the decision? Another thing to consider is also if you did the impossible to be with her, to save your marriage. It is possible that you will not feel much pain, and in some cases you will feel good about yourself, because you know that you gave everything without keeping anything, to save your marriage. But when your marriage breaks due to cheating on your wife, believe me that pain lasts for a long time, and in some cases you need psychological help to overcome the trauma caused by infidelity. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room that many men don't want when their marriage breaks down due to a woman's cheating. When he's hurt due to cheating, lying and emotional manipulation, you can't help but feel pain, and often it is. Feeling of impotence produces a resentment against your wife. You as men, you feel vulnerable and you think that you should protect yourself from everyone, in which you consider that all women act the same. You become more introverted, insecure, and begin to withdraw from your loved ones. In short, you blame yourself for what happened. As a cheating man, all you want to do is forget the pain and move on, never looking back. In the case of my separation from my wife of a marriage of 14 years and 3 children, believe me, it was and continues to be a process of emotional adaptation as a father, as a man, but also as a husband. Many times I miss the smiles of the children, the whining, the fights between them, and the many times when I hear the voices of other children. I discover how much I miss their presence, because despite everything, I love being parents of my children. But, I am sure that just as I miss them, they also miss me, something that I miss from my ex-wife, and as a man I appreciate a lot from her, like that attitude of sweet understanding, kindness and acceptance of who I really was without complaining. My personal therapist, that no matter what the reason for the separation was, the children in the end are the most affected by the bad decisions that the parents make. Usually many couples get back together when the cause of the separation has been as traumatic as the reason for the separation. A type of idea that does not exist in me right now, when I analyze my emotional situation, in which the well-being of the children could be one of the reasons, but not the main one. One thing is the separation product of the lack of communication, or poor economic situation, lack of maturity when you marry young, and another thing is when the divorce is the product of loss of trust, the lies of your partner, and more when that woman loves you cheating with another man. I have always believed that the most important thing is the emotional well-being of children, who are not responsible for the bad decisions and mistakes of parents. To believe that the traumatic or amicable separation between the parents does not affect the emotional stability of the children, is to delude oneself into not understanding how the children perceive the world around them, where both parents are the center of attention. My ex-wife, understanding this reality, often uses the children to force me to do things as a parent which are not part of my responsibility. One thing is my responsibility as a father, and another thing is my responsibility as a man, and my ex-wife makes no distinction between the two. In this sense, as a parent, panic increases due to the emotional well-being of children, and even more so when you do have children, and they are just a young age, given that a separation can negatively affect a boy or a girl who always had their next to their parents together. How does our divorce affect children? I believe that the youngest children are not able to understand what is happening, and even more so when the breakup was complicated as a result of deception. On the contrary, the older girl shows symptoms associated with stress, anxiety, and fear of being abandoned. Sometimes she also shows on her face a conflict of loyalty between her mother and her father, in which she has to decide, if I love mommy means I don't love daddy, in which she prefers to stay quiet. Lately her performance at school has decreased. The little girl started wetting the bed more often again, sometimes screaming when fighting, sometimes being aggressive, refusing some foods. Lately she is having nightmares, fear of the dark or being alone at all, has physical expressions of discomfort, such as vomiting, and abdominal pain. In the youngest child is still not seen significant change, although he shows an attachment behavior towards me, when the mother comes to pick him up. Many times women after a divorce, depending on the reasons for the divorce and her emotional intelligence, can react differently. In the case of my ex-wife, I think she should feel the same pain that I feel. We're also in the first stage of grieving divorce, where sadness and anger are normal reactions. Do not have the slightest doubt, divorce and separations can trigger an emotional whirlwind in women, such as guilt. She feels that she is worthless and that she does not deserve the love of men. These types of emotions can make her withdraw from other people and also isolate herself, which can lead, over time, to deep feelings of loneliness, which in the case of my ex-wife, she wants to solve by begging me to go back to her. A friend of my ex-wife told me that my ex had a very difficult time where she just went to her house to cry and mourn, and feel worthless because she was alone and considered herself unattractive, despite doing exercises and plastic surgery on the breasts and waists. I have always believed that divorced women tend to go into a grieving process after the loss of a marital relationship, and more so when we are talking about a marriage of 14 years. Something that my ex-husband never thought of when she decided to cheat on me with young men. After they all found out that she was a divorced woman, many of them treated her as she really was, an old woman who dated men younger than them, trying to do in the middle of her life, things she never did when she was young. My ex-wife did not realize that she has been fooling herself into believing that those young men in the gym found her an attractive woman, when in reality they used her to have easy sex. Was it my wife's mistake to get married so young? Only she knows that answer, but that doesn't justify cheating on her husband. In recent weeks my ex-wife Karen has been taking Kyle, who is 3 years old, to the hospital due to medical problems, especially on weekends, which is an excuse for my ex-wife to prevent me from seeing the children at end of the week. Every weekend, when it is not a problem, it is another problem, which creates suspicion in me that she is using the children as a weapon against me, because of the deep love I have for my children. The other week my ex-wife informed me that she was thinking of moving to another state as a way to get a better job. It was something that surprised me, because right now the children are finishing the school year. Reasons why the children, according to what was agreed on the custody of the children, they had to spend the summer with their father. Situation that is causing me certain anxiety knowing my ex-wife. Do not have the slightest doubt that divorce is not really the end of the toxic relationship with your ex-wife, mother of your children, because apart from using children as a tool of emotional manipulation, to force the man to pay attention to the ex-wife, there is also the possibility that she is totally opposed to you trying to see other women, let alone establishing a serious relationship with another woman who would go on to be the stepmother of her children. As soon as your ex-wife notices that they have competition for the attention of the ex-husband, the recriminations begin, also the unjustified sick jealousy, the accusations of not spending time with the children. Do not have the slightest doubt, the accusations before the court of being a negligent father, who never visits his children, and let's talk about asking for an increase in the amount of money and child support. According to my lawyer, these are the classic signs of a mother who uses children to manipulate the court, and put her ex-husband between a rock and a hard place. This situation is like her saying between words, if you don't want to be my husband again, neither will you be the husband of another woman, much less impose a stepmother on my children. That is why family therapists say that divorce does not end a toxic relationship between a man and a woman. What it does is aggravate the problems when one of them does not want to recognize that she has serious emotional problems. As a result of this dispute between my ex-wife and I, due to the lack of compliance with the custody of the children imposed by the family court on my ex-wife, the judge appointed a family therapist, who would take the case. This family therapist suggested to my ex-wife, if she did not wish to lose full custody of the children, that she should go into therapy to understand the reasons behind the teenage behavior of a 38-year-old woman, who is entering the premenopausal stage of her life. A woman who is the mother of 3 children, married for 14 years, in which she began to seek the attention of men much younger than her, which does not disqualify her as a woman. Type of behavior which the therapist considered to be abnormal, not because of the age difference between my ex-wife and the lovers, but because of the way she acted. Only a woman with low self-esteem could behave that way, using your body trying to fill emotional and affective needs in the wrong places with the wrong people. I am sure that many of you will wonder why I am telling this story, which can be fictional as well as real. For me it is a way of telling that when a marriage ends, none of the main actors end up winning. Actually, the most affected would always be the children, who grow up in single mother homes, or in the most optimistic cases are raised by a father who sometimes loves them more than their own father. Right now my ex-wife and I are taking family therapy, not to recover a marriage that no longer exists, but to create the best environment for our children to grow up with the same support, love and attention as if we were together, not as a man and a woman, but father who look at their children as the center of attention. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this type of dramatic story about broken marriage and toxic relationships, please leave your comments and share this type of material.